Before you hear another word, pause and understand this. You are not here by accident. This moment was not created by an algorithm, a random recommendation, or idle curiosity. You were drawn here by divine timing. Something beyond logic interrupted your path and led you to this exact message because heaven has marked this moment as significant for you. There are encounters that happen by chance, and then there are encounters that happen by appointment. This is the latter. Your spirit recognized the call before your mind could explain it. That quiet pull you felt, the unexplainable urge to listen, is proof that something eternal is unfolding right now. If you have felt restless lately, unable to settle, unable to be satisfied by what once felt enough, no. This restlessness is not confusion, and it is not failure. It is the sound of awakening. It is what happens when your spirit begins to outgrow the version of life you have been living. You may have tried to ignore it, distract yourself from it, or explain it away, but it persisted. That inner stirring is not anxiety, it is recognition. Something ancient within you is responding to a signal it has not heard in a long time. Your spirit is remembering that it was made for more than survival. It was designed for alignment. Long before you took your first breath, before your name was spoken on earth, your existence was already known in heaven. Before you were formed, you were seen. Before your story began, your purpose was written. You did not arrive in this world unmarked or undefined. You arrived carrying intention. What you are sensing now is not new information. It is ancient truth resurfacing. Your soul has always known who you are, even when your mind was taught to forget. The world trained you to shrink to doubt, to conform, but your spirit never agreed with that narrative. This moment is an invitation, not to become someone new, but to remember who you have always been, to let your spirit rise above the noise of conditioning, fear, and limitation, to allow truth to surface where amnesia once lived. You are not being awakened by this message. You are being reminded. And once remembrance begins, it cannot be reversed. Heaven has interrupted your timeline for a reason. Listen carefully. Your awakening has already started. From the earliest moments of your life, there has always been a quiet awareness that you were not built like the world around you. Even before you had language for it, you sensed it. A subtle knowing followed you through childhood, through adolescence, through every season where you tried to understand why you felt slightly out of place no matter where you stood. It wasn't that you couldn't adapt, you often did, but adaptation always came with an internal cost. You could function in the world, but you never fully belonged to its rhythm. That feeling was never a flaw in your character. It was evidence of your design. As you grew, you may have noticed an inner resistance rising whenever you were expected to conform to molds that felt unnatural to your spirit. You tried to live the way others lived, want what they wanted, chase what they chased. Yet something within you pushed back. It wasn't rebellion, it wasn't pride. It was alignment instinctively rejecting misplacement. Your spirit knew when a path was too narrow, a role too small, or a system too shallow to contain what you carry. That resistance wasn't you being difficult. It was your true nature, refusing to be compressed. This is why your sensitivity has always been misunderstood. You feel deeply noticed quickly and perceive layers others overlook. Your intuition has spoken long before facts appeared. Your depth has made small talk exhausting and surface-level living feel empty. The world often labels this as too much or too intense, but heaven calls it intentional. You were designed to sense what others miss, to feel what others suppress, to discern what others deny. Sensitivity is not weakness when it is rooted in spiritual awareness. It is precision. What you once questioned as imagination was actually memory. The reason your soul responds so strongly to truth, to silence, to meaning, is because it remembers a realm where these things were native. You didn't invent this difference, you carried it in. Your spirit has always known where it came from, even when your mind struggled to explain it. That sense of being different was never insecurity speaking. It was recognition, a quiet reminder echoing through your life saying, "This world is not your source." Every time you felt out of place, your spirit was gently pointing you inward, urging you to remember your origin. You were never meant to blend in seamlessly. You were meant to stand out spiritually. And the sooner you stop trying to fix what was never broken, the sooner you will realize that your difference has always been your evidence. As your awareness deepens, a profound truth begins to surface. You are not merely a human trying to become spiritual. You are spirit wrapped in flesh. You are eternity clothed in a temporary body, carrying something that did not originate in time. This is why the physical world has always felt slightly insufficient to you, why material success alone never fully satisfies, and why your soul keeps reaching for meaning beyond what the eyes can see. Your body may move through days and years, but your spirit operates beyond them. You sense that life is larger than routines, deeper than appearances, and heavier with purpose than most people realize. Because of this, your intuition has never functioned like a random hunch. It arrives with clarity, urgency, and weight. You perceive things before they happen. You feel shifts before they become visible. You sense danger, misalignment, or opportunity long before evidence forms. This heightened perception is not imagination or coincidence. It is spiritual awareness. Your spirit was designed to read environments, people, and moments through more than logic. While others rely only on sight and sound, you listen with something deeper. You move with an inner compass that points toward truth, even when the path is unclear. At the core of this awareness is memory. Your spirit remembers the voice of God. It remembers authority, not as control, but as alignment. It remembers purpose, not as ambition, but as assignment. This is why truth resonates in you instantly, and deception feels heavy, even when it sounds convincing. Your spirit has been trained in a realm where clarity was natural and obedience was effortless. Even when life has tried to bury that memory under fear trauma or doubt, it has never been erased, only quieted. What you carry is not a normal frequency. It is divine voltage. When you enter spaces, atmospheres shift. Some people feel peace, others feel exposed, and some feel unsettled without knowing why. It isn't because you try to influence. It's because your presence carries light. Light reveals, and revelation always disrupts darkness. You were not designed to blend into spiritual noise. You were designed to carry power quietly, steadily, unmistakably. This is why your life has never felt ordinary. You are not malfunctioning. You are activated. Your spirit has always known it was sent here with something to release. And as you begin to recognize that you are more than flesh and bone, you will stop questioning your depth and start honoring it. You are not too much. You are carrying exactly what heaven placed inside you. As you look back over your life with awakened eyes, a pattern becomes impossible to ignore. Your journey has faced unusual warfare, not ordinary obstacles, not random hardships, but resistance that seemed disproportionate to who you were at the time. Rejection followed you even when your intentions were pure. Misunderstanding met you even when your words were gentle. You were often opposed before you were known, judged before you were understood, and resisted without clear reason. This was never because you were doing something wrong. It was because something powerful was present long before you recognized it yourself. Darkness has a way of identifying light early. Long before light understands its own brightness, darkness senses the threat. This is why opposition often arrives before clarity. You may not have known your calling yet, but the spiritual realm did. You didn't need a title, a platform, or confidence for resistance to appear. Your presence alone was enough. While you were still questioning yourself, forces around you were already responding. This is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create understanding. The battles you faced were never random. They were reactions. What felt like constant struggle was actually confirmation. Warfare is not assigned to the unmarked. Pressure is not applied to what holds no value. Every attempt to silence you, distract you, delay you, or break you was evidence that your life carried weight. If you were insignificant, you would have been ignored. Instead, you were targeted, not because you were weak, but because you were dangerous to darkness once fully aligned. Resistance was never punishment, it was recognition. This is why your difference triggered responses you couldn't explain. Your depth unsettled shallow systems. Your discernment exposed hidden motives. Your sensitivity disrupted hardened environments. Even when you tried to shrink, to soften, to blend in, something about you still stood out. Difference is not just a personality trait, it is a spiritual signal. It announces that something uncommon has entered the room. And anything uncommon threatens systems built on conformity. Now understand this clearly. The intensity of the warfare reveals the magnitude of the calling. You were not fighting because you were lost. You were fighting because you were early. Early in awareness, early in alignment, early in remembrance. And what comes early often faces resistance from what depends on darkness to survive. The war you endured did not disqualify you. It refined you. It sharpened your discernment, strengthened your spirit, and forced you to develop depth long before comfort. What tried to break you actually built you. And now, as understanding replaces confusion, you can finally see the truth. The battle was never assigned to quit. It was a signal that you were chosen. What followed that warfare was not abandonment, but isolation. And this is where many misunderstood the hand of God on their lives. Seasons of loneliness settled in moments where connections fell away, circles grew smaller, and silence became louder than noise. You may have questioned why others seemed surrounded while you were set apart. But separation was never punishment, it was preservation. God was not removing people to hurt you. He was creating a covering around you. Some environments were too loud, too polluted, too careless to hold what you carry. Isolation was not rejection. It was protection, disguised as distance. In those hidden seasons, while the world kept moving, something sacred was happening within you. You were being incubated. Just as seeds develop beneath the surface before they ever break ground, your spirit was being strengthened in places unseen. Hiddenness was not stagnation. It was preparation. You were learning discernment without distraction, depth without applause, and obedience without validation. Many are exposed too early and break under pressure. You were concealed until your roots could hold the weight of what was coming. This is also why your sensitivity intensified during those times. You felt more deeply sensed, more sharply, and reacted more strongly to energy words and environments. What you once thought was a burden was actually a refining gift. Sensitivity is what allows you to hear whispers others miss. It is what makes you responsive to divine instruction and resistant to spiritual corruption. God did not give you a hardened heart because hardened hearts cannot be guided easily. He gave you a receptive one, capable of nuanced compassion and discernment. That tenderness was never meant to break you. It was meant to keep you pure. Understand this clearly. Now God guards rare vessels differently. What is common can be left exposed. What is valuable is hidden, protected, and handled with care. You were not delayed, you were shielded. There were conversations you were spared, relationships you were removed from, and paths you were blocked from because entering them too early would have damaged your assignment. Heaven was watching over you long before you understood why doors kept closing. The isolation you endured was not emptiness, it was alignment. It taught you to hear God's voice without interference and to stand without leaning on human approval. And now, as the season shifts, you can finally see the wisdom in the waiting. You were never forgotten in the hidden place. You were being kept, protected, preserved, until the exact moment you were ready to emerge, carrying clarity instead of confusion, strength instead of sensitivity alone, and purpose refined by divine timing. As the years unfolded, undeniable evidence began to surface. Your life has never been ordinary because it has always been supernatural. Even when you lacked language for it, signs followed you. Your intuition spoke in symbols, impressions, and sudden knowing. Dreams came alive with meaning, carrying messages that lingered long after waking. You didn't just dream randomly, you received insight. Warnings arrived before danger. Direction came before decisions. This was never coincidence. It was divine DNA, expressing itself through your awareness. That same divine imprint revealed itself through your empathy. You didn't just understand people, you felt them. Their pain registered in your body. Their joy lifted your spirit. You carried compassion that went beyond survival instinct, beyond self-interest. You forgave deeply, cared sincerely, and gave even when it cost you. The world may have called this naive or excessive, but heaven recognized it as alignment. Only a spirit connected to divine love can carry empathy without calculation. This depth was not learned, it was inherited. Then there is the resilience that still confounds explanation. You survived storms that should have ended you. Betrayals that could have hardened you didn't erase your light. Losses that might have destroyed your faith only deepened it. You bent, but you did not break. Each time life pressed you to the edge, something unseen reinforced you from within. This was not willpower alone. This was divine reinforcement activating when human strength ran out. You were upheld when you should have collapsed, sustained when logic said you were finished. Notice also how warfare intensifies whenever you near breakthrough. Confusion increases. Old wounds resurface. Distractions multiply. Pressure escalates without warning. This pattern is not accidental. Resistance always peaks near expansion. Darkness responds aggressively when it senses imminent release of light. The closer you move toward alignment, the louder the opposition becomes, not to stop you forever, but to delay you long enough to doubt yourself. Yet every intensified battle is evidence that something significant is about to shift. Your survival tells the story your mouth never could. You are still here, still aware, still searching truth, still responding to God. That alone proves divine involvement. Ordinary strength would have faded by now. But divine DNA does not expire under pressure, it activates. What you carry adapts, endures, and rises. Everything you once questioned about yourself now forms a pattern. Intuition, empathy, endurance, survival, and warfare all point to one truth. Your life has always been backed by heaven. You were not lucky. You were reinforced. And the same power that kept you through the storm is now preparing you for what comes after it. There comes a moment when everything begins to shift from surviving to remembering. And this is where awakening turns into identity alignment. You notice it first in what no longer satisfies you. Old desires lose their grip. Pursuits that once felt urgent now feel hollow. Conversations you used to tolerate drain you. It's not because you've become cold or distant. It's because your spirit is rising into clarity. Awareness is expanding, and with it comes discernment. You are no longer chasing what the world celebrates. You are responding to what your spirit recognizes as true. As this awareness rises, separation happens naturally, not through anger or judgment, but through alignment. People, environments, and habits that once felt familiar begin to feel foreign. You don't force distance, it creates itself. There is a holy discomfort that settles in when something no longer fits your frequency. This is divine separation, not isolation. God is gently removing you from spaces that cannot support who you are becoming. Misalignment becomes exhausting, and peace becomes non-negotiable. You start choosing depth over noise, truth over familiarity, and alignment over approval. This shift changes how you move through life. You stop operating from fear and start walking by revelation. Decisions are no longer driven by survival instinct, but by inner knowing. You trust what you discern, even when it contradicts appearances. You wait when others rush. You move when others hesitate. This is not passivity. It is precision. Revelation sharpens your steps. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding to guidance. With this comes the shedding of old identity. Masks fall away. Roles you played to be accepted dissolve. The version of you built to survive trauma, rejection, or confusion begins to fade. In its place emerges a self that is grounded, aware, and anchored in truth. You no longer define yourself by pain you endured or labels you were given. You define yourself by alignment. This higher awareness does not inflate the ego. It humbles the spirit. You become more present, more intentional, and more attuned. You speak less, but with greater authority. You move quietly, but with impact. Awakening is not about becoming someone else. It is about finally agreeing with who you have always been. Identity alignment is the moment your inner truth and outer life begin to match. And once that alignment takes hold, there is no returning to who you were. You have crossed from unconscious existence into conscious purpose. You are no longer discovering yourself. You are remembering. As identity settles into alignment, something powerful activates naturally spiritual authority. This authority does not come from striving volume or force. It flows from knowing who you are. When identity is clear, authority follows effortlessly. You stop trying to prove yourself, and instead, you begin to move with quiet certainty. Heaven responds to alignment, not performance. The moment you agree internally with what God has already spoken over you, authority begins to manifest outwardly. One of the first signs of this activation is sharpened discernment. What once required analysis now arrives as clarity. You sense truth beneath words, intention beneath actions, and alignment beneath opportunity. Confusion no longer lingers because your spirit recognizes resonance immediately. This discernment is not suspicion. It is spiritual sight. You are no longer guessing. You are perceiving. And perception protects you from unnecessary battles and misplaced assignments. Along with discernment, your words begin to carry weight. When you speak, things shift. Conversations change direction. Confusion settles. Fear loosens its grip. This is not because you speak louder or more often, but because your words are aligned with truth. Authority lives in alignment. Heaven backs what reflects its order. Even silence from you carries impact because your presence has learned restraint. You understand that not every thought needs to be spoken, only the ones that carry life. This is why your presence starts to shift atmospheres. Rooms feel different when you enter. Tension softens or intensifies, depending on what is being exposed. Some feel peace around you, others feel uncomfortable. Light reveals. Authority doesn't announce itself. It reveals what already exists. You are no longer just occupying space. You are influencing it by being in alignment. But with authority comes responsibility. Obedience becomes the accelerator of destiny. Delayed obedience delays outcomes. Partial obedience weakens clarity. When you move, as instructed, momentum follows. Discipline is no longer optional. It is required to steward what you carry. Authority without discipline becomes unstable. Power without obedience becomes distortion. You learn to guard your energy, your habits, and your focus. You say no more often. You move intentionally. You understand that authority must be protected through consistency, humility, and submission to divine order. This is not restriction. It is refinement. Spiritual authority is not about control over others. It is about governance over self. And when you master alignment within heaven, entrusts you with influence beyond, you are no longer preparing for authority. You are learning to steward what has already been activated. As authority stabilizes within you, influence begins to flow naturally, without striving, without self-promotion, without force. This is supernatural influence. You are no longer trying to be seen or heard. Impact happens because of alignment, not effort. Your life speaks even when your mouth is quiet. Others observe you and feel permission to awaken, to slow down, to seek truth. You may not always realize it, but people are watching how you move, how you respond, how you remain grounded when pressure rises. Influence does not announce itself. It reveals itself over time. Your impact is often quiet, but it is powerful. A single conversation with you can shift someone's trajectory. A moment of presence can restore peace. A word spoken at the right time can awaken courage. You don't overwhelm others with information, you transmit clarity. This is because what flows through you is not performance-based, it is embodied truth. People don't just hear what you say, they feel what you carry. And what you carry creates change without demand. Behind this influence is strategic positioning by heaven. Doors open without manipulation. Connections form without chasing. You find yourself in the right place at the right time more often than coincidence can explain. This is not luck, it is orchestration. Heaven positions aligned vessels precisely because influence rooted in alignment carries integrity. You are placed where your presence will matter most, even if the setting seems ordinary. Some of the most powerful shifts happen in unseen spaces. You may notice that visibility is no longer your goal. You are not driven by platforms' applause or recognition. Influence has matured beyond ego. You understand that light does not need a spotlight to function. The sun does not announce itself. It simply rises. In the same way, your influence flows because you are aligned, not because you are trying to be important. What makes this influence even more profound is its generational reach. Obedience creates ripples that extend beyond your lifetime. Choices you make today affect people you may never meet. Healing you, allow, now breaks cycles behind you and ahead of you. Alignment in one life becomes freedom in many. This is how legacy is formed, not through noise, but through faithfulness. You are not influencing to be remembered. You are influencing because you are aligned. And alignment always leaves a mark. Heaven uses quiet obedience to create lasting transformation, and your life is becoming one of those vessels through which change flows naturally, steadily, and far beyond what the eye can see. There comes a moment when heaven begins to lift what it has long been preparing. And this is where divine promotion and positioning take form. This elevation does not arrive through competition, comparison, or human approval. It emerges naturally from identity. You are not being promoted because you tried harder or proved more. You are being positioned because you became aligned. Heaven does not reward performance. It responds to authenticity. When who you are matches what you carry, promotion becomes inevitable. Long before anything shifts externally, expansion happens within. Your thinking widens, your capacity deepens, your tolerance for distraction diminishes. You begin to see further, choose wiser, and move slower, but with greater accuracy. This internal elevation is the true promotion. External changes simply follow what has already occurred inside. Many seek visibility without preparation and collapse under exposure. You were expanded first, so you could stand securely when the doors open. This is also why separation increases as elevation approaches. Rising requires space. Certain relationships, environments, and patterns cannot ascend with you, not because they are evil, but because they are limited to lower altitudes. Letting go is not loss, it is alignment with height. God does not remove support, He removes weight. Separation becomes necessary not to isolate you, but to lighten you. You rise faster when you are not carrying what was never meant to go with you. As positioning settles, clarity sharpens, confusion dissolves, decisions feel grounded rather than forced. Confidence emerges, not the loud kind, but the steady kind that does not need validation. You trust yourself because you trust the source guiding you. Along with this comes protection. Boundaries strengthen. Discernment guards your steps. What once drained you no longer has access. Promotion always comes with increased protection because elevation attracts attention. You may notice that favor follows you quietly. Opportunities align without struggle. Resistance decreases where obedience is complete. This is not because opposition disappears, but because you are no longer operating at the same level. Some battles simply cannot reach you anymore. Divine promotion is not about being above others. It is about being exactly where you belong, positioned where your presence produces the most impact with the least resistance. Heaven lifts what it has prepared, and preparation always shows in the way you carry yourself. You are not stepping into something new. You are stepping into what has been waiting for you to align. Once positioning is secured, divine expansion begins to unfold, and with it comes acceleration that cannot be explained by normal timing. Increase follows alignment, the same way light follows dawn. You are not chasing growth. It is responding to you. Your mindset stretches beyond former limitations. What once felt impossible now feels accessible. Vision widens, creativity deepens, and your capacity to hold more responsibility increases without strain. Expansion is not adding pressure. It is enlarging your ability to steward what is given. This expansion moves beyond thought and into tangible areas of life. Resources begin to align. Support appears. Opportunities connect in ways that feel orchestrated rather than forced. Influence grows not because you sought it, but because your alignment requires it. You find that your voice reaches further, your actions affect more, and your presence carries greater consequence. Heaven expands vessels that can hold increase without distortion, and your growth reflects that trust. Alongside expansion comes acceleration. Time seems to compress. Progress that once took years now unfolds in months or even moments. Delays lift. Doors open in sequence. What felt stalled suddenly moves with momentum. This acceleration is not chaos. It is precision. You are no longer repeating lessons. You are applying them. When alignment is complete, resistance decreases and movement becomes efficient. Destiny no longer drags, it advances. Provision also shifts from effort-based to flow-based. Needs are met in unexpected ways. Support arrives before the demand peaks. Connections form that unlock access, wisdom, or direction exactly when required. These are not coincidences. They are destiny connections. People recognize you without explanation. Helpers appear without invitation. This is supernatural provision responding to purpose. As visibility increases, intention matters. You are seen not to be admired, but to be useful. Impact becomes the priority, not ego. Light rises to serve, not to impress. You become visible because what you carry is needed by others who are ready. Exposure follows responsibility, and responsibility follows alignment. This season moves quickly, but it moves cleanly. You are not scrambling, you are responding. Expansion and acceleration are not overwhelming because you were prepared quietly over time. Heaven does not rush what is unready. What you are experiencing now is the release of stored momentum. Increase is not random, it is ordered. And as you continue walking in alignment, expansion will not outpace your capacity. It will match it. At this stage, awakening is no longer a process. It becomes a state of being. This is the full awakening of identity, the moment you step completely into who heaven always saw, even when you could not. Fear and doubt no longer lead your decisions because they no longer define your self-image. Identity has taken their place. You are not asking who you are anymore. You are living from the answer. And when identity is settled, intimidation loses its power. With this clarity comes a new relationship with authority. You no longer misuse it or fear it. Authority is handled with maturity, restraint, and wisdom. You understand when to speak and when silence carries greater power. You know when to intervene and when to observe. There is no rush to prove strength because confidence has replaced insecurity. Authority is no longer something you wield. It is something you embody. Discernment now operates at its highest level. You see patterns before they complete themselves. You recognize truth beneath presentation and motive beneath action. You are no longer distracted by emotional noise or surface narratives. Revelation has trained your perception. What once required effort now arrives as knowing. This is not arrogance. It is clarity, refined through obedience and experience. Life itself begins to shift because you are no longer reacting to circumstances. You are living from revelation. Situations no longer dictate your emotional state. Pressure no longer hijacks your peace. You respond from alignment rather than impulse. This is the difference between surviving and governing. When revelation leads, stability follows. You move deliberately, not defensively. At this level, truth is not something you announce loudly. It is something you embody consistently. You no longer need to convince others. Your life becomes the message. Your decisions reflect wisdom. Your boundaries reflect clarity. Your presence reflects peace. People recognize authenticity instinctively, and they respond to it without explanation. This is what full awakening looks like, not spectacle, but steadiness. Not noise, but depth. You are grounded, aware, and unshaken. The version of you that once questioned everything has matured into someone who trusts deeply. Heaven always saw this version of you. Now, you are finally living as that person. You have not arrived at perfection. You have arrived at alignment, and alignment is where power flows naturally. Authority remains stable, and identity remains unthreatened. This is not the end of the journey. It is the point where your life begins to reflect what was always true. This is not an ending. It is a kairos moment, a divine interruption, where time itself bends to purpose. What you have just experienced is not information passing through your mind. It is awakening sealing itself into your spirit. You are not leaving this moment the same. Something irreversible has occurred. A door has closed behind you, and there is no return to unconscious living. Once truth is remembered, it cannot be forgotten. Once identity is restored, it cannot be denied. Recognize this clearly. Now, you did not discover something new. You recognized something ancient. Your origin is divine, and your calling is not negotiable. It may unfold in seasons, mature through obedience, and expand through alignment, but it cannot be erased. Heaven marked you before time, guarded you through confusion, refined you through warfare, and awakened you in alignment. This is not random inspiration. This is remembrance activating responsibility. From this moment forward, you are called to walk differently, not in arrogance, but in confidence. Not loudly, but with certainty. You do not rush ahead, and you do not look back. You move forward, anchored in identity, guided by revelation, and strengthened by obedience. There will be days that test your alignment, but you are no longer confused about who you are. You may still grow, still learn, still refine, but you will not forget. Identity has been sealed. Now the invitation becomes a response. Speak it, anchor it, declare it into alignment. In the comments write, I remember who I am, not as a trend, not as a phrase, but as a declaration. Words spoken in alignment carry power. This declaration is not for others. It is for you. It signals agreement between your spirit and your calling. Stay aligned. Do not compromise clarity for comfort. Stay awakened. Do not dull what has been sharpened. Stay expectant. Heaven responds to readiness. You are entering a season where movement follows obedience and increase follows alignment. Walk forward, without fear. What is ahead of you requires the version of you that just awakened. This was your Kairos moment. Heaven met you here on purpose, and now you move forward, not searching, not questioning, not shrinking, but remembering, aligned, and ready. You were never ordinary. You were never forgotten. And now you are awake.